Meeting is being recorded.
Hey guys, welcome to another installment of On Tyranny, a series that's being hosted by The Bad Penny, which is my website. Kurt Orzak, music journalist of, I don't even know if I should say how long anymore, 27 years, started in 98. And I'm pleased beyond words, although that sort of negates what I just said, to welcome a very special band to the conversation. They are from the Netherlands. It's Terzij de Horde. Right, almost.
Close enough.
Almost. Okay. We have Joost and Johan here. Can you first of all correct the pronunciation, please? First.
Okay, so it's Terzij de Horde. The I sound is difficult. It doesn't really exist in English, and Johan knows all about this as a linguist. So,
Okay. All right. Well, you made me feel a little bit better. What does it translate to, by the way?
Terzij de Horde translates to something like set apart from the masses. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's the word horde itself has that kind of almost primitive following the hordes kind of thing, and that we stood aside from that. It's a little quote. It's a starting phrase from a poem by Hendrik Marsman, who's a dark vitalist, we call him. He was a poet who essentially in times of World War II and interbellum wrote poetry about how the darkness was consuming him and consuming everyone around him, and how he wanted to break free from that, and how he was struggling with that, but also trying to get on top of that. And so it spoke to us in many ways in that sense.
Nice. Is that? Did you see Heinrich Marsman?
Yes.
Hendrik, yeah.
Yeah. Who's sort of like a real inspiration for your whole band, right? In a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was a starting inspiration. I would say that right now, the inspiration is much more diverse. But yeah, Marsman's sort of existential vitalism definitely inspired. I would say it's still an inspiration for the basic energy of the band, the sort of being on the side of life and ready to fight for it, I think, of the band. Though our later inspirations are more systems oriented, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, he has a poem called Lex Barbarorum, the law of the barbarians, which ends with him saying, and it's also one that we put to music. I acknowledge but one law, which is to live, and that I think that basic energy still is very much at the center of what we do.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. Which ties in with the, in at least a tangential way, if not directly, the title of your new album, Our Breath Is Not Ours Alone, which came out just 12 days ago on, at least in American time, on Church Road Records. I would not be speaking with you if I did not love the record, which I do. So thank you very, very much to put it out. It's got that black metal, hardcore kind of butting a bit. I wouldn't say butting the heads or marriage. Those are two often overused terms, but it's got that mixture, that blend that really speaks to me as a fan of heavy music. So you guys did it up right with this record, and it's a pleasure to speak with you just on that level. In addition to the conversation we're going to have about authoritarianism. But I guess the first question I wanted to ask you is, given what you just said right now about the philosophy that you kind of spoke to, does it feel? And I don't know. I know a little bit about the politics that are going on in the Netherlands right now. I know you have elections coming up on October 29th, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah. And was it in August that the parliament resigned? Was it or something like that?
Yeah, recently anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been a slow falling apart of the government saying we're not in power anymore. So we're kind of we're just keeping the machine going. So certain things we cannot do because they are, too difficult or too grand for us to decide on, and then 2 days later deciding on that anyways, and then being called back by law, by judges saying that's not legal, and it's been one big infighting show, and it's absolutely fucking horrific.
Yeah, it actually that fell apart in July. I remember it because I was in class with my students, and I remember just being very excited, very vocally excited about the government falling, until I started thinking about it, and I was like, this could go well, or it could become a much more sort of like enhanced shit show. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
it's probably still better than what we have here, which is we're in a government shutdown where even the military aren't getting paid. And well, say what you will about that, but going back to my point though, does it feel, and this is something that is just I find fascinating about this whole situation that's going on. And I've interviewed probably about 45, 50 bands now from across the world. I originally started out interviewing bands who, in the spring, early 2025, who live under authoritarian regimes and how they survive and how they manage to make their art and get it out. But did so with sort of the premonition or the fear that what they were going through might come to our shores, which it now has. And the idea was to sort of provide a bit of instruction for American artists on how to prepare and deal with what might come here. But I guess what I want to ask, sorry to belabor the point, is does it feel odd to be kind of like a band that probably at one point was, you were probably considered, or maybe you are still considered, like subversive, but the ideas that you're espousing are sort of like mainstream almost now? It's like it's like the underground sentiment, the thing that we've been, so many of us have been trying to or that we sort of unified about, is now a common sentiment. Is that weird, or is that not true, or
Common sentiment. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's multiple sides to that. I guess the situation in the Netherlands is a little bit different from the situation in the US, where people are a little bit more, quite a bit more asleep, I would say, which is because we are not in as extreme a situation as you are. We have a far right government. Things are going, turning for the worse every day.
Right.
But it doesn't seem to be, well, it is affecting people everywhere, but people don't notice it yet, I think, in the same way. And so there are, for instance, massive protests against the genocide in Gaza. And that's a sign, I think, of that. I think that's definitely an example of a position that was considered, a year and a half ago, or even half a year ago, maybe, as way too radical for many people. And then there was a turning point, and now everyone's on the street. So in that case, yes, I would say that's sort of a specific example. But in other cases, I would say in the Netherlands, there's still a lot of sleepwalking. What do you think, Johan?
It is a thing where what you see now, and I'm really happy about that, is that these ICE protests are generally shared, as in loads and loads of people coming together, communities coming together to protest against the presence of ICE in their community. And I think that's the issue in that sense. The Netherlands is not that community based, I would argue. It is a highly individualized country in most aspects. And so the underground that we're part of, that was one of these places that you could fight against that, the sense of belonging, the finding each other in shared politics, or getting to know new politics, honing your weapons, but also the entire idea of getting to know what's out there, and where might you have to learn something. And that is something I do feel is blossoming in the Netherlands. Our underground has grown, has become a bigger community. Whereas the rest of the country has become more and more individualized.
I think, exactly. I think in underground sort of scenes and so on, there's definitely more explicit politics. But I would say that, yeah, I mean, I think the Dutch public are basically spoiled babies, you know. We're just the reason, you know, it's a country in which there's this sort of idea that many people vote for the far right because they're, you know, the forgotten and so on. But a lot of people in the Netherlands, I think, who vote for the far right are well off, you know, they're upper middle class, you know, as well, and so on. And so
Yeah.
a lot of it is just resentment from people who are doing quite well, who are threatened by phantasmal fears that the far
Yeah.
right is pushing on them.
Okay.
And yeah, and the people, and I think the people who see this as a problem, you know, they're worried about it, but it's a bit like, yeah, I'm really worried about this, and not much else. And I think the Gaza thing is waking people up. But I'm not sure if people are sort of, yeah, so I don't know. It's we're sort of in the Netherlands, we're sort of getting there, but too slowly, I would say. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. And is the
Yeah.
is the sort of individualism due to geographical distance between people, or is it you know, like Johan, you were saying, are do rich people have a grudge because of taxes as they do
Mm.
sort of here, or what is their beef that they're not being heard?
No,
It's
I
almost a
think,
kind of inuit.
yeah,
A,
it's
a,
like,
a general sense of life has been so good. And now there are people who say that life should change perhaps a bit because then other people could have a better life. And
Uh,
it's a begrudging kind of inuit. I live in a village which is connected to the city of Utrecht. So Utrecht, big city in the middle of the Netherlands,
mhm.
student city as well, one of the more left-wing cities in the Netherlands.
Okay.
My village is the most right-wing village here, like by far. Also the richest. And
Yeah.
there is a general sense of yeah, but so like we
yeah,
had a mail coming in a couple of weeks ago on how they want to look at bringing in a couple of charging stations for electric cars here in the neighborhood. And everyone is angry because we don't drive that modern shit, and it's bad enough to park here as is. And every single family here, not us, all the others have like 2 or 3 cars, and it's like, and there's a general sense of this is how green politics divide and crush our communities. And like literally, they want to install 2 fucking charging stations. The
Yeah.
fuck,
yeah.
and that's how they respond to everything here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a country full of adult babies
Mhm.
that is being fed by right-wing politicians who are sort of like
Yep.
making that resentment a currency, which of course is familiar in the US as well.
Yeah.
People are bored. People don't know how good they have it. They
Yeah.
think that right. This is as a country where a lot is supported for individuals, which is why people can be that individualistic because the state at least used to take care of a lot. That's changing now.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
people just don't know how bad it can be, and I feel like that's what and that gets weaponized. It's boredom, you know, as Johan was saying, it's
Yep.
resentment. Of course, there's also a part like this. The sort of voter base for the far right is very diverse, I would say, and there's of course, also a part of it that are people who are, you know, sort of like lower middle class or working class who do feel like their livelihoods are threatened, even if that's maybe not really real. But
Sure.
you know, the livelihoods are threatened by neoliberalism
Yeah.
and capitalism and the parties that are breaking down. But we haven't had a coalition with the left wing government for many years, like
Mhm.
with the left wing party, even center left party for many years. And yet, you know, the sort of the right wing politicians are blaming the left for all kinds of stuff that they have no power over because they've not been in power for, you know, decades. So it's a politics of stupidity. It's a politics of lies. It's a politics of resentment, and you know, this sort of sense of a lack of understanding being a virtue,
Uh-huh.
being pushed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Not to get too
It's
pop psychology about it, but I mean, do you think part of it too is like sort of a guilt over being rich, and this is a sort of a
Who
way
knows?
of reacting to that, or is it maybe just people like you're saying, if they're bored, they feel like they don't have an identity, so they sort of cling to some sort of an identity. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the identity thing is definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to latch on because you were talking about how the one of the biggest right-wing parties right now, or for the past couple of years, was the farmers movement, and they really rode that high on a general agenda of, yes, all this research and all these nerds are telling us what's happening, but the farmer knows best.
Right.
And people connected with that the entire day of that, but it's the farmer. The farmers know, and then they vote for these people who have proven to be like shills for the agricultural complex here. Yeah. They've been paid by these companies to defend their point, to be essentially their spokespersons, and everyone's like, but the farm, and then they get to decide on asylum seekers, they get to decide on culture, they get to decide on schools, on education, and they know shit. They are the dumbest people alive concerning anything. But then it's but that's the farmers, the farmers' view. Yeah. We the people, we understand. The farmers understand the people, and
it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. It's hijacking or sort of like mobilizing an imaginary of the farmers in the Netherlands, it's an image that a vision or an image that doesn't exist, because it's this idea of this sort of like workman-like farmer that has a small farm that produces food for the Netherlands. All of these things are lies. Of course,
they know all 12 cows by name.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's another side to the story, which is that the Dutch government has lied to farmers and has sort of like fed them this narrative of more growth, more nutrients, more intensive agriculture, and so on. And this sort of decades of lies has completely poisoned I'm an ecologist. It has completely poisoned our ecosystems. Yeah. So the farmers, there is a reason for them to be angry. Right. About the lies of the Dutch government. Sure. But the Dutch government says it's the fault of the EU, which is not true. And so the farmers, there are some farmers, and many farmers maybe, who have the right to be angry, but then that gets completely hijacked by as Johan was saying, big meat, and big dairy and so on. And the people who are screaming the loudest, my sense is that, and I think that this is sort of borne out, are a lot of Dutch farmers are millionaires. They are very wealthy people. They are large-scale landowners. Yeah. And so this idea of the small farmer who's just like the corner, and most of their products are exported, right? So the Netherlands, this is crazy. The Netherlands is, I think, after the US, the biggest agricultural producer in the world.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's crazy because it's a very small country.
Yeah.
But after the US, so that's insane, right? So these people they're wealthy, they're exporting most of their products. I remember once, I've done a lot of work on, let's not go down the farmers rabbit hole, but I've done a lot of research for a decade and a half or something, mostly abroad, but sometimes in the Netherlands, about agricultural practices. And for my PhD, especially, I focused on Netherlands and interviewed farmers, and they said, if there are stricter rules around livestock production or dairy production, or at least the sale and consumption in the Netherlands, the Dutch farmers won't be hit that much because most of it goes abroad, Yep. So there's this. So yeah, I think what Johan is saying, like this, and this is a huge political point that's driving all these political parties and all this kind of stuff, is this sort of identity of the farmer, and it is an ecological crisis, and there is a reason they should be angry, but. It just gets hijacked into stupidity,
Yeah, that's remarkable to hear. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Johan.
No, it's more of there's a link to black metal there. I would argue that you use a romanticized type that is evocative and magically resplendent of a past untold, and it's not real. It's not real. These black metal, I'm the evilest man alive types. They bring their kids to school every day. They fry their hamburgers. It is that idea of something to hold on to. That there's there is something to protect, and it's a lie. It's a fucking lie.
It's so interesting because I was talking to a friend yesterday who's a modeler, like a climate, sort of like ecological systems modeler, right? And we were writing a paper, and she asked me to get involved in a paper about what is the place of these sort of models and this sort of futures thinking in the future. And I said, I think this, and there's a bunch of modelers involved in the paper, and I said, I think you're not radical enough. You have to think really about what an existential threat to any of this sort of science the current political climate is. Because who are the people who are really making the future scenarios? It's Peter Thiel, who thinks that he's protecting the world from the fucking Antichrist. Well, he is maybe the biggest candidate for Antichrist, but anyway, that's fine. That's sort of, he's like, yeah, the Antichrist is coming and he's gonna, and this is the stuff that's driving sort of like big tech and these insane apocalyptic fascism ideologies. Yeah, and the scientists are going to be left behind,
So, if I just may interject, it's just remarkable to hear that the parallel with the farmer sort of contingent and viewpoint that you're expressing, because that's exactly what's happening here. It's a romanticization of farmers as being the consummate ideal American out in the field toiling, but in reality, a lot of them are millionaires, and not only that, but they also have the highest suicide rate right now in the United States because their farms are disappearing. In the meantime, because of Trump's wonderful tariff ideas, who no one except for him understands the logic behind, because it's illogical and it doesn't make any sense. Because of his tariff policies, now China is getting their soybeans from, I believe it's Brazil,
be surprising,
which used to be our number one exporter. We used to export soybeans to so now that's decimating. And not only that, not just for the current period, but that's now going to be the standard going forward, which is going to just annihilate the farming community. And in return, what he's trying to do or going to do is just write him a check, write the farmers a check and feel good. But those folks don't want to, a lot of them, I mean, this is kind of me, I guess, sort of believing the characterizations I've heard, but they want to be workers. They want to be perceived as workers. They don't want to just be getting a handout, because that's everything they work against. Okay, so I do want to make sure we shift into the artistic part of the conversation here. You mentioned before we got on the recording part of this conversation that you had a show recently where something happened. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. We had a show. We played our release show at a festival called Soul Crusher for our new album, and we had an anti-fascist action flag on stage on one of the cabinets. And we ended up in the national newspaper review of the show, and was sort of taking over more than half of the entire festival review with the story about this, where there was this thing about, because the Dutch government, the majority government, has sort of the coalition anyway has followed Trump in trying to declare Antifa a terrorist organization, which they don't have the power to do for now anyway. But so their expressions aren't for now meaningless. But and of course, even the Dutch intelligence agencies have explicitly said, don't do this, because one, Antifa isn't an organization, and two, you're going to be feeding into further far-right radicalization. So this is our opinion as intelligence experts, is not to do that, or our strong sort of like recommendation. And of course, they did it anyway. So the joke was the reporter wrote that he was very surprised that there weren't any anti-terrorist squads or lawsuits or discussions in the House of Commons about our show because of that anti-fascist action flag. And it's funny. And then, but it was a joke, and this person was very appreciative that we were so politically outspoken. But yeah, I mean, it's a joke for now, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, my grandfather was a POW in Germany, and fighting the fucking fascists. Like, I mean, he was an anti-fascist. I mean, and I tell my relatives, I'm like, he would be so disgusted right now with what's going on, and that stirs up all sort of conflict in my family, and so on and so forth. So do you fear any sort of pushback or repercussions from speaking out, or do you feel more emboldened than ever to express your views?
More emboldened.
Yeah, as a band, I'm not afraid at all. This is a band. This is what we do. This is who we are.
There we go.
I have to admit that for my job, I'm I'm a teacher in secondary education.
Okay.
Not to be it's the best job ever. Joost is teaching at university, of course, and what we've had over the past, I would say, 15-ish years now, is that these extreme right-wing parties are pushing the idea of you need to have politically neutral teachers, and you had like these snitch lines where students could video or call in teachers who were pushing agendas and stuff like that. And it's
Yeah,
not
there
that
were there
I'm
was
afraid that I will lose my job over that, but what I've noticed over the past couple of weeks is that what if we now get that extreme right wing government? What other job could I get? Because I'm not going to stop speaking out, but that does mean I need to have a plan B.
Right.
yeah, I feel the same. I don't think I as a white man in academia, I'm with a tenured position. It's a strong position,
Yeah.
supposedly, but for how long, right? And of course, many more of our colleagues are much more in a much more delicate situation. So it's up to me and Johan and Dutch people and so on like us to speak out also on behalf of colleagues who are in a more sort of like more on the precipice. But yeah, but it's definitely something I've considered also in writing stuff early on about Gaza when that was not considered hip yet as it is now. Now that things have changed so much, I suppose. Um, yeah, I thought about that. I was like, yeah, this could cost me my job at some point. But I feel like we know a lot about fighting fascism, and one of the most important things is knowing where you stand politically and speaking out. And as if enough people speak out, no matter the cost, right? That's the way to stop it. So you have to give that example, and especially if you're in a privileged position. So yeah, I'm like Johan. I've also thought like, what else can I do? Well, become very successful at Terzij de Horde or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Eternally on tour.
We're gonna have to play rave or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Euro House will be
yeah.
fine.
I think Eurohouse will be the style, and then we'll be able to continue being anti-fascist. Yeah.
I got to say, it does sadden me that some of the trends, like that trend especially, is not being contained to the U.S. I mean, we have a reputation, deservedly so, for being quite provincial here, but
Hmm.
it's through these conversations with remarkable artists like yourselves that I feel like it's bringing awareness to the fact that this scourge is happening across the world, and
It's very well organized.
and through artistic communities as well. So we have just a few minutes left. I want to ask you just if you can really quickly maybe give me what you would tell somebody who wants to have some sort of a positive impact on what's going on. What would you suggest that they do?
I'll go very quickly and then give space to Johan as well. I would say find your peers, build underground collectives and communities, and talk to each other about what can be done. I think that's maybe the starting point. Yeah, really build. Our album is also about this, but yeah.
Yeah. Reach out, open up conversations, try to build that particular safety net of peers, of friends, of supporters, and don't be afraid to speak out on behalf of everyone. Then show that you're worth more than they are.
That's right.
Yeah, and let other people feel that they're not alone.
Excellent. Yeah. And if I may add, and I've mentioned this a few times to artists, I've been getting more a sense of hope and education and feeling of solidarity by having conversations with individuals like yourselves within the span of 30 minutes than watching cable news for 6 hours. There's just so much more to be gained from having this kind of direct interaction. And I encourage anybody who's watching this video to try their best to talk with like-minded individuals, or and if you're able to have conversations with people who have disagreements with you, have those too
As well.
It's really hard right now, but do it. So the last couple minutes I want you to please plug away. You get the new record once again out. Just came out on October 10. Our Breath Is Not Ours Alone. Beautiful poetic title on Church Road Records. Tell me anything more about websites so that people can go to find out more information about you guys. Any shows you have coming up? Floor is yours.
Yeah. I think Terzij de Horde can be found everywhere as long as you can spell it. We are on all platforms. Just wanted to say that we're also releasing this album with Via, which is an amazing anti-fascist, feminist, vegan label, and with Tartarus Records in the Netherlands.
Cool.
Anything else, Johan?
No, that's it. Fiat is a US label, and Marianne has been amazingly supportive over everything. Vinyl is coming in soon. We have a release party of the vinyl on the 6th of December in Utrecht. Hometown show. It's going to be wild. With Teardrinker, one of these friends, bands of friends that we've recently met and loved the shit out of. Amazingly fierce music, amazingly fierce people. But also Broeder Dieleman, who's an old friend, who's also been a staunch anti-fascist singer-songwriter from the south of the Netherlands. And it's been amazing to see how it has been received, but also how many people respond to us saying, "Hey, this rings true. I agree with you." So, what going on what you've just said, Kurt? If you want to have a conversation with us, if you want to talk about something or have questions, reach out, send a message, because the conversation is permanent and needs to be there all the time.
Yeah,
so cool. Wow. Just such a privilege to talk with you guys. I mean, you're so well spoken, and you're teachers and fucking make great music. I mean, you're from the Netherlands. It's just the best. This is awesome. Can you give me the website for that label FIA? I don't see them in the press materials. So what's there?
It's FIADH.
FIDH. Okay. All right. Cool.
FIADH at Bandcamp. Yeah.
Okay, I'll plug them in the story too, and I'll probably have this up pretty soon, if that's okay with you guys.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna stop recording. Thank you so much, really, guys.
Thank you.
This couldn't have gone better.
Absolute pleasure, man.
Hang with me for a second here, and I'll just say a couple.